our neighbor Dan was still there. And we phoned him and said we were leaving. He looked out, didn't think it looked too bad, so he spent the night. And the next morning when we came back, he was wet up to here. He and his dog had been
rescued by canoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and that was one outpoint, one of several, but nobody really wants to press it because I guess you look at it, there was sort of chaos at the time. But nobody did a door-to-door in our area, which is probably one of the more vulnerable areas.
By the time we finished sandbagging, nobody had been around, not a word. So I assumed that the city, I figured somebody at the city is probably keeping an eye on things. They must know how high this water is going to get roughly. They must have some idea of what the peak is going to be. So I kind of trusted the city, see?
And we had put 18 extra inches on the dike. It was
with
getting really
right
close to the top, absolutely close there. But we'd put another 18 inches of sandbags, and we thought, and I think we did just about have it licked, because I believe that was just about the high water peak. If it hadn't broken up there, we might have skated.
I think we might have skated. So somebody must have noticed back there in '97 that we no longer had 2 feet of freeboard, and they should have sometime very soon afterwards, like that summer, added another 2 feet or 1.5 feet of dike here, just to maintain this dike to its supposed standards. So there have been a number of negligences.
Yeah,
and I would say, if this is going on the record, I'd say the city's really lucky that nobody was killed last year. Old folks had to be rescued in the middle of the night by boat.
Yeah.
I mean, people who...
on the other side of North Ruckle.
They're really lucky. And so far, they're really lucky nobody's taken this to court. The only reason this isn't going to court is because we've already been told by the city themselves that if anybody starts lawyering up, they're going to shut everything down, and that's the end of all communications, and all of a sudden we're like opposition. We have 2 or 3, maybe 4 counselors who are sympathetic and open to ideas, and still working on trying to find some way of treating us maybe a little more fairly, at least.
I feel like the minute they started mentioning the word buyout, it was the beginning of the demise of our neighborhood. Like it was bouncing back. People were fixing their homes. We were fixing our home, and we're quite keen and excited to get back in, and we're going to get this thing done. As soon as they started talking about buyouts, then people got confused about their insurance. Should they fix it up? Should they take the money and go somewhere else? We were told, just fix it up enough to live in for the winter, because that sort of handled the problem for them, where to put people for the winter.
As soon as they mentioned buyout, insurance companies suddenly backed off and refused to give any money. So there's houses now, over a year later, that are sitting there that have never been cleaned out. Mm-hmm. Stuff is still sitting in there all rotten. Doesn't matter if there's going to be a buyout. You paid for insurance, you should get your insurance. Mm-hmm.
And there was sort of time limiters. I know some of our neighbors felt a lot of pressure to make a decision. Even if the insurance companies were going to go good for it, the choice was fix your house, or we give you a payout and you go buy another house. And people were left in this real quandary about whether they should do that or not.
Property values in general will be way higher right now if they had never mentioned the buyout, because people would have fixed up their homes.
So there's that, what the initial talk of buyout did to the neighborhood. And then everybody just kind of was biding their time for the winter, trying to be as comfortable as we possibly could, waiting for this word about the payout, or about the grant. The word came, and it was like this big hoo-hoo, everybody's happy, and then the idea that it was a post-flood values, and everybody just, again, it's just been a real roller coaster ride. Yeah.
The thing is, with the buyouts, there's people who would like to stay, who don't want to be bought out. There's people who want to be bought out and want to just. There's people who would take the lowball buyout just to be done with it and gone. Probably. There are people There's people of different minds here with regard to like what they would find acceptable. Best case, we'd like to stay. We'd like to stay and just we'd like them just let us
and we'll do our own, some flood, we kind of see what happens. I mean, we got the drill now, and we would take way better care of our place in the future. We'd know what to do, and we might put in some berms or whatever ourselves just to make sure we're secure.
Yeah.
But and now there are several councillors that have sort of brought that up, and again, that's a bit of a roller coaster, because I know for me, that was the battle. I wanted to fight for my home, and I'd already kind of gone, okay, well, I guess that's off the table now. We're just fighting for at least proper fair market value.
Yeah.
And now the possibility of keeping our home is back on the table, so it's kind of like it's just a roller coaster ride. And like what we've discovered is that we are here, we're living in the present on this very day-to-day basis, and we're kind of in a way clinging to the past, and we've got no way to look into the future. And that's what's making us feel crazy. We can't.
Yeah.
That's what makes you happy, is when you're like planning and you're working towards the future. And we've had, it's been impossible to actually form a future in the last year.
The city's going to be coming around to negotiate, right, terms of the buyout with each householder individually. And I mean, for all we know, they're going to be making decent offers. We don't know. But what they have been told by the province is that it has to be post-flood. And that's where I get stuck on, like, then what's to negotiate? If they have enough money to give us post-flood, and they're not allowed to give us more than post-flood, exactly what's to negotiate? And if our numbers are right, we're looking at our pre- and post-flood appraisals and assessments. And the difference, we own 2 houses here, the difference for us is about $120,000. That's how much we're being robbed, so that they can build the dikes across the river and save the rest of the city. If we're robbed, if we lose, if we have to give up $120,000 in our buyout, we can no longer afford to live in Grand Forks. So in effect, they're taking $120,000 from us to build dikes around a city we can't even fucking live in anymore. We have to leave town. And my question is, exactly how is that right or fair or even acceptable to the people in this city? Never mind the city council. They got their own reasons for doing what they're doing. Whatever those reasons might be, I don't know. Votes, maybe. But even the voters, the taxpayers that I've talked to, I talk to a lot of them up at my coffee rig. I talk to them all day long, a whole variety of them. And so far I haven't spoken to a single person who isn't willing to pay the extra tax if the city would just go out and borrow the damn money and pay us what we're worth, what our property's worth. But instead, we're faced with a future. My blood is in this valley. We go back into, the Sorocas go back into the 30s here in this town, in this valley. I have to leave. I'm being forced out, and those people will enjoy a flood-proof city on into the next century, for a whole 100 years or more. Flood-proof city, built on our past, our work. We're having our it's being stolen from us. My home is being, my hometown, my valley is being, my blood is being stolen from me. See? So I get angry, all right? And it might all be, I guess the point is, it might all be for naught if they would just let us know what it is they have in mind. But this is a problem. There's like a breakdown in communication, or there's stuff that maybe they're being told not to tell us what's going on. I don't know. But if it's just that black and white, if it's post-flood, then we lose. We lose big time. And we need the citizens here to stand up and just say to the city. In fact, we need the city to stand up with its citizens and say to the province, no. You know, we're not doing that to our friends. I thought they were my friends. I voted for them. Your job now is to rob us, or to be complicit in that robbery with the province. Somehow, it's not right.
Yeah, and like how I feel about that, I mean, you've described it exactly. But it's kind of like, it may be a wonderful flood-proof city, but it's going to be kind of haunted if it's built on the backs of a bunch of citizens that can no longer live here. And how safe are you going to feel in a city where you know it's that easy to throw people away? You know, it's like, I know I have felt that way since the buyout talk started, you know, that we're kind of disposable. It doesn't make you feel safe.
On top of all that, how safe do you feel living in a province where that precedent has been set and now you know what's coming for you? Out in the rest of BC, if you don't see dikes going up around your town right now, then you know what's in the works, what's coming down the pike. Just look at Grand Forks, you can see the future. They're going to wait for disaster to hit. Then they're going to swoop in and scoop up your properties at whatever, 40 cents on the dollar, if you're lucky. And then they'll throw a few dikes up for photo ops. There should be mayors and councillors across the province right now getting up on their hind fucking legs and saying to the province, give these people pre-flood. There's a lot of people here who, even if they got pre-flood, they might not have enough money to make a fresh start somewhere, but at least it would be fair. They'd be getting what they would have got if they had sold their homes at that time, right? They'd be able to pay off their mortgages, for Christ's sake. We're going to have people down here stuck holding mortgages on places that don't even exist anymore.
But I do feel that there's support from the citizens, like you say, so that's a positive thing. And there are several council members that are in our court and fighting for us, so that makes you feel a little bit better too. So, and our citizens group has formed up. People aren't just kind of rolling over. I like that. People are kind of being proactive. All I can say is that that's what we've looked at every day for 30 years, and we love that river. And we got over the flood really easily. It didn't frighten us.
It was an adventure. It was fun, really. The sandbagging and the cleaning up afterwards, and all of a sudden, like, we lost our tenant in the small house, but all of a sudden we thought, okay, we'll use that small house for studio space. All of a sudden we were heading into just the most perfect retirement.
And I remember saying that to the flood recovery guys when they were down at the arena. I said, you know, we survived the flood. We're doing fine with the flood. I don't think we're going to survive you guys.
That's right.
He didn't really say much. I guess you could see the writing on the wall. But I do feel that the plan was put together very quickly when residents were still in shock and everybody was very bewildered. And it was sort of like if the powers that be said, here's the solution, people kind of latched onto it. And I think if they had any idea what that solution was really going to look like, they wouldn't have gone for it. And I think the city was pressured to do something to go along with. Dobson had come in and done his thing, and they were pressured to do that, or they weren't going to get any money. So the whole thing was like really quickied, and it seemed rather extreme. And I think there are other ways, less drastic ways.
Yeah, I mean they keep telling us, they've been saying now for a year, that no matter what plan, what flood mitigation plan they come up with, the destruction and leveling of North Ruckle is a necessary part of any plan. And then somebody's lying, because at the time back then a year ago, we had the option of a setback dike that would have saved North Ruckle. And we all felt, we talk about it now, there was some coercion in a way, because we were coerced somehow into choosing the buyout, even us folks who didn't want the buyout. We wanted to stay. But I found at the end, my hand kind of going up, because they made the setback dike thing sound like it was going to be completely impossible. But then why is it exist?
Yeah.
Why was it there as a second option? And it saves North Ruckle. It flood-proofs the town. Where did that option go?
And if the area along the river where people want to stay could be saved, and a lot of the folks that want to get bought out could be bought out, perhaps a trench or a swale, something that would allow for the same amount of additional flow that the setback dike would have. Because there are considerations and concerns about it still just plugging up at the industrial bridge anyways. So all of this could be for naught. It might be a silly plan that we rushed into for unnecessary reasons, like fear and pressures and.
But let it flow.
Yeah, recognize that it's there. We're living right on the edge of it. Stuff like that's going to happen. particularly with the full forestry thing. Like I do think there were other circumstances as well, but I think the forestry practices is a huge mitigating factor.
Yeah.
You know, there are just so many facts out there right now about snowpacks and how they're affected by, you know, there's just so much higher when they're not under trees, and there's nothing to slow down the melt, and there's just so many facts out there, but they're just kind of getting ignored. And I guess it's for financial reasons.
Yeah, they're not going to be ignored for long. If it was the sawmill, if it was Interfor that owned all this land here, there's no way the city would be saying to Interfor, look, that land flooded last year, so we'll give you 30 cents on the dollar, right? Why they can do that to us because we're just lowly homeowners, but they'd never do that to Interfor, to the sawmill, or any of the other industries. You know, how is it they can get away with doing that to us? That's the thing. It's like the fact that it flooded last year has nothing to do with the buyout. The buyout is all about future floods. The city's trying to save itself from future floods. They need our property to do it. They should pay fairly for that property, like they would pay Interfor if Interfor owned it. Assistant Deputy Minister, Recovery, Planning and Disaster Risk Reduction, Emergency Management, BC. He's just under Farnworth, I think. Dave Peterson. Providing fair market value based on post-flood conditions accounts for the fact that many owners had already received funding either through private insurance or through disaster financial assistance. Providing pre-flood values creates challenges where improvements were subsequently made to homes either through insurance, disaster financial assistance, or private funding. Somebody's lying. Either this guy's lying or Graham's lying. Somebody's lying because they are taking DFA into account. Disaster financial assistance. That was money that they gave you. It wasn't an awful lot. It was to fix up your place well enough so that you could move back in, so that they didn't have to worry about you being homeless over the winter. That's what that money was for. But they told us at the time, use it whatever way you want. Take a trip to Mexico. They joked about stuff like that. You don't have to use it. Use it whatever way you want. But this is what it's kind of meant for. And it has nothing to do with the buyout. They told us that over and over again.
Because in that letter he's implying that we've made improvements to our house with the money we got with the DFA, but actually all that we were doing was repairing the damage and making it livable.
Getting it livable.
That's right.
And that's what we did. We insulated, we cleaned up, we re-insulated, we put up vapor barrier, but we didn't bother with wallboard.
We got wiring, we got plumbing. I mean, these are just things that were ruined with the flood. They're not improvements. They're just getting it back so you can live in your home.
We went up to Wells. Nora was off doing her art stuff, and I was just there, kind of like to get away, to camp. And I went down for breakfast. It's just the first day out, right? And it's that first time, that first moment when you're by yourself, sitting in a restaurant, and it was just kind of lucky I was the only person there, right? It's just a little mom and pop place. They brought me my breakfast, and I was suddenly just looking out the window, and I just broke down, just started crying. Mm-hmm. It's hard to even explain. You've been inside this situation. In here, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows the problem, and so you're kind of like, I don't know. You go out there, you leave town, you're up there in some other place, and you're nobody knows the story. You're not normal anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't sort of like just relate to people.
Yeah, I had a heck of a time relating.
It passed, right? It was just that first kind of like thing that just for a day, it was just like the depth of the fucking blue. It really just it was surprising.
Because I was crying and I couldn't figure out why, but it was like I just realized that I was out of this bubble and I was out in the real world, and it just hit me like and then I had trouble with my presentation, and I kept saying, it's okay, I'll just do my project, I'll just sit down. I was a mess, and usually I like doing art presentations, so yeah. It was, you know how when you put your hands you press your arms against the door jamb, and then when you step away, it kind of goes like that. It's like I've been pressing against the edges of this situation for a year, and all of a sudden it was gone, and I didn't realize I was going to react that way.
You're suddenly out there. Yeah.
I had no idea I was going to react that way.
I mean, we love wells, and I mean, there are houses up there that if they lowball us here, we could buy a house up there. You know, wouldn't be a bad place to live, but we've got our eye on other places too. But
Yeah.